What's going on, everyone? I wanted to do another video for our playlist called Knowledge is Power. And knowledge is power is something that I feel everyone should know about. That when you increase your knowledge, you can't be easily controlled. When you increase your knowledge, you definitely have more of an argument with people when it comes to things like crime or, some of the talking points of right wing conservative media like Fox News Channel to put all the blame in the U.S. on African Americans. And if something they're saying is true, I will accept that as truth if it is a truth, because I will not cover for anyone or anybody. But when you put this stuff out as fact and you don't say, okay, let's kind of show where we're getting this stuff from. We visit the 2014 Crime in the United States Uniform Report. Now, if any person may say, well, where's 2015? Every year when it comes to the FBI criminal report based on arrests, and we're going to look at two different ones, actually. We're going to look at just arrests in itself and broken down by race. And we're going to look at crimes broken down even interracially and see what's going on even with that. Okay, so we just want to make sure we put that out there. We're going to let you know who's doing the most crime, where, whatever. This is just based on arrest. We don't know if it's repeat offenders. We don't know, but it's just based on arrest and what was reported to the FBI. So we're going to look at this as we go along. Now, this murder rate and everything else. So this is table 43A, as you can see. And it looks at, we'll point this out. They have, 8.7 million arrests was reported. Now, 6 million white, black, 2.4 million. You can see American Indian or Alaska Native, Asian, Native Hawaiian or other Pacific Islander. And then also, let me scroll down a little bit so you scoot this thing over. So you can see about the ethnicity, and they put, Latino and non-Hispanic, all Latino. It's broken all down. But the issue in the news and everything is about the same old thing, black, white, black, white. So we're going to focus a little bit just on black, white. Now, we'll talk about this murder rate. Here we go. Murder and non-negligent manslaughter. Black, 51.3. White, 46.3. Now, as I told you before, I accept truth for what it is. Let's talk about that black murder rate. Usually that murder rate goes on in poor communities, no jobs, quote unquote, the hood areas. That's usually where that happened at. Same thing with the white folks. Usually it's poor areas, no jobs, drugs, stuff like that. So when these racists tell you, you have a 51% murder rate, you're like, yes, that's true. But you have 46.3% too. Don't act like you have a 2% murder rate when they tell you that. You need to know these numbers but you know how it goes, with people like that. We're talking about racist people only. That's the ones we're talking about. Well, at least we're less than you. What, by a little bit? I mean, come on. Even if you had a 10% murder rate, I'd be like, well, yeah, they right. I mean, man, we kind of wilding out. But that is the number. Now, considering all the conditions and all the things that have created the ghetto, for instance, like redlining back in the 30s all the way up to close to the 70s, that created the ghettos. And we had talked about that in the video about how white Americans got ahead with certain programs. Now, let's look at the next thing, because, they say that they should fear black men because black men is going to have a higher murder rate. Okay. Well, we look at the raping. Now, it says 67.2 white, 29.9 black. If so, we're going to go off of stereotyping like the racists like to do. That means that maybe blacks should be afraid of, white males with raping, because look how high their rape rate is. And that's just facts of what it is. I tell people this: don't go down the route of stereotyping, because you may not win that too well. Playing it back and forth with stereotypes. I think everyone is individuals, no matter what your color is. But don't get it twisted to putting out blanketed statements. Now, what if we just start doing a bunch of pieces about, white males and how you gotta, be afraid of white males and they're gonna rape your kids, rape your wife, rape everything? What if we do that like Fox News likes to do? Blacks are just violent and blacks this and blacks that and 51%. But why you never talk about your 67.2%? Why you don't even talk about your 46.3%? I mean, don't act like I say you don't do nothing. Robbery. Let's look at that. 55.9. Once again, it's going to be in the poor areas. You're not going to have your middle class to upper class blacks murdering people or robbing people all the time because they're working. They got their own houses, cars, whatever. The robbery on the white side, 42.3. That's usually the same thing. Poor areas, drugs, etc. Aggravated assault. We look at that. 63.7 white, 33.1 black. They never talk about that. Burglary, 67.6 white, 30.2 black. They still never talk about that. Larceny and theft, 69.1, 28.0 black. You see, when these people keep bringing this mess up to you, and you have to understand, it's a numbers game. You have more of one group, less than another group. They can't commit all the crimes in the country because there's not as many of them as the other group. The other group going to need more jobs than the other. The other group going to need more programs than the other. I'm not saying anybody's less than or whatever, but I'm saying is when you have more of something, it's just a numbers game. Okay. Now they like to say, well, you guys are only 12 to 15% of the population, but look how many arrests that you have. That's actually low for an amount of people, in my opinion, considering the situation that a lot of us have been through with programs and systems within the United States of America. Let's continue. Motor vehicle theft, 66.5, 30.7. Fox News don't talk about that. Arson, 73.1, 23.4. Fox News don't tell you about that number. Violent crime, 59.4, 37.7. Property crime, 68.8, 28.4. Now remember the numbers I'm reading. The left is going to be the white, the right is going to be black. Other assaults, 65.4, 31.9. Forgery and counterfeitings, 63.8, 34.0. Fraud, 66.1, 31.8. Embezzlement, 61.9, 35.6. You see, before some of these people who who are racist or those who have racist apologist views, I'm gonna say, accept the facts of what they are. Like I accept the facts. I will accept that on this table that black people have just a slight higher murder rate and robbery rate. I will accept that. But make sure you accept the rest of what this is. This is facts put out by the FBI.gov. I will put the link in the description box. You can read it and weep yourself. Embezzlement, 61.9, 35.6. Stolen property, buying, receiving, possessing, 65.5, 32.2. Vandalism, 70.1, 27.0. Weapons, carrying, possessing, 57.3, 40.7. Prostitution and commercialized vice, which is, we know what that is, 53.7, 41.8. Sex offenses, except rape and prostitution, 72.5, 24.0. Sex crime is pretty high on the other side. Let's see, drug abuse violations, 68.9, 29.1. Now let's talk about that for a minute. There's a lot. Most of the people who locked up in prison for drug offenses are African American, and then African American, it would be Hispanic. But yet African Americans don't have a high amount of drug abuse offenses. Really, anyone, if you do the research, white Americans use drugs a lot of times at a higher rate, and drug dealers will tell you their best customers are white Americans because they have the money to actually pay for the drugs. Yet they are arrested, but they're not imprisoned like the black person is or the Hispanic person is, according to the criminal justice system. Not to say they don't go to jail. And now here lately, a lot of white Americans have been getting caught up on the war on drugs with crystal meth and heroin. And now, since a lot of white children are getting caught up on that, getting these 20 and 30-year sentences because of the war on drugs, now the senators all of a sudden want to come up with, well, we need to end the war on drugs. But, when there's black people getting locked up 20, 30 years, it was fine. But you know how that goes. I tell people, don't set a trap for other people unless you're going to fall in your own trap. But continuing, gambling. 35.8, 58.9. Black people, boy, you love to gamble. I see that. Offenses against the family and children, 64.4, 32.9. Let's see, driving under the influence. It could be drugs. It could be alcohol. 83.7, 13.0. Liquor laws, 80.2, 14.5. Drunkenness, 80.9, 15.7. Why don't they talk about that on Fox News and say, you know what? We have an issue with people within our community driving under the influence or being drunk or drunk drivers, which drunk drivers kill a lot of people. They don't talk about that. My thing is, you can have a pro-white stance. That's fine. I don't have an issue with a pro-white stance if that's what you believe in. But why don't you speak about the issues within your own community instead of sitting up there speaking about things within the black community? While you speaking about us and our murder rates and everything else, you're not addressing the things that's going on within your community, which is part of what we're seeing here. Disorderly conduct, 63.0, 33.9. Vagrancy, 68.7, 28.3. All of the offenses except traffic, 67.8, 29.5. Suspicion, 52.7, 44.7. Curfew and loitering law violations, 51.4, 46.2. So then this same table goes down. Now it goes to the teenagers, okay? And it's same thing broken down. Now, the under 18 have a higher black teens have a higher murder rate, and look at the robbery rate, 71. It's off the charts. And I did the research. The ones who would be actually have the higher crime would be between the ages of 13 to 24 range, and I'm talking within the black community. Anything after that range, the crime extremely drops within the black community. And once again, those crime rates are in those poor areas. And most of these children that you see who doing this, they don't have a father in their life at all. They have no guidance. Some of their mamas even encourage some of the things that they're doing because they're bringing home money that she never seen before. But that's a totally different, story. But we're going to just look at the facts of what they are. So 41.2, 57.0. So don't get it twisted. To start saying, see what we talking about, you still don't have a 2% murder rate, even under 18. You don't have a 10%. So when you get to that low, then we have to talk about it. Raping, 65.6, 33.2. So it's still the same with the raping. Raping is a major issue according to the FBI statistics. Robbery, 27.5, 71.0. Robbery is a big issue. As we can see, we just had a case here in Houston where a young man was killed for some Jordans, and the guy was under 18 who did the killing. So rest assured, the robbery and killing is just a major thing for these teenagers. That's why sometimes I only like to see some of them. Aggravated assault, 55.3, 42.4. Kind of same. Now you can see when it comes to the under 18 crowd where the crime is usually at. 56.4, 41.6. Burglary, larceny, theft, 60.8, 36.2. Motor vehicle theft, 51.1, 46.8. So about on the same level, white and black teens steal cars. Once again, it goes back to what we said. We talking about the black community. The crime is higher when it's in those teenage areas and up to maybe the age of 24. Arson, 72.3, 24.9. Violent crime, 45.6, 52.4. Okay. Property crime, 59.6, 37.6. Other assaults, 57.0, 40.9. As you can see, black and white teens actually have higher rates of crime than the adult black and whites, correct? Forgery and counterfeiting, 61.6, 36.9. Fraud, 58.3, 38.8. Embezzlement, 59.6, 37.6. We look at the stolen property, 45.5, 52.5. Once again, it goes back to what we kept saying. Black teens have a higher rate within our community than those 25 and up. Vandalism, 72.5, 25.2. So we look like white teens are doing more crimes as well, at a higher rate. We got the weapons, carrying and possessing, 58.0, 39.8. Prostitution and commercialized vice, 45.4, 52.3. Now that number is sad. So that number is telling you white and black teens are in prostitution at a high rate. And a lot of the arrests is happening to white and black teens. And it's sad when you don't have parental structure and protection for the children to have this, number looking like this. Sex offenses, except rape and prostitution, 73.1, 24.5. Drug abuse violations, 74.4, 22.9. So it seems that white teens have a higher rate of drug use as well. And that's sad in itself. Gambling, 19.8, 77.7. Y'all getting caught up on that gambling for real. I don't know what y'all be doing, is that shooting dice or whatever y'all getting caught doing. Offense against the family and children, 63.9, 32.4. Driving under the influence, I want you to look at this. 90.5, 5.9. Liquor laws, 88.3, 7.3. Drunkenness, 86.3, 9.7. So once again, it goes back to what we were speaking earlier about Fox News Channel and conservatives. I don't have an issue with you having a pro-white, community stance. That doesn't bother me. But the issue is, stop worrying about the black community so much and fix your issues, because your teenage kids are driving under the influence, is being stopped by the police, is being reported by the FBI. They drunk and everything else, and it is a epidemic with white teens. This is based on the FBI's numbers. This is not me making anything up. Don't get mad at me, get mad at them. And I know you're going to try to say, well, you don't understand those numbers. It's per capita. It's this, it's that. You can call it whatever you want to call it. The fact is, FBI is reporting that your teens are doing a whole lot more in certain things, just like black teens are doing a whole lot more in certain areas as well. This orderly conduct, 53.9, 44.1, just almost about the same. But if I was some of the people that come to my videos, well, you see, we do less, you do more. It don't matter. You still do a lot. You don't have no 5% like we have in driving underneath the influence. We have vagrancy, 65.8, 32.4. All other offenses except traffic, 67.1, 30.5. Suspicion, 53.5, 46.2. And then we have curfew and loitering law violations, 51.4, 46.2. And that just go back to just the children being obedient and doing what they're supposed to do. And obviously we know with the breakdown of the family, the law, who's tying parents' hands from disciplining their children, anything else. That's why we see all this. So based upon these numbers, you got like a consensus of what a crime is at, what's going on, and how to battle anyone that tries to put out misinformation about the crime statistics in America. Now, let's look at the next thing. We're going to talk about race and what is truly the epidemic with crime based upon that. So we're going to go to the next table, which is the expanded data table, the homicide, 6. Now, it's broken down by the race of the victim. We see white and black. So let's look at white. Let's talk about that. They say that they have a total of 3,021. White, 2,488. Now, that's white on white crime. Now, white white victim, black offender, 446. It's broken down in the other. Okay. They said about Hispanic, Latino here. They say that if the victim's white, it's 595. All right, cool. Now, as a black victim and as a white offender, it says 187 here. Then it says black victim, black African American, 2,205. So white on white or black on black crime is an epidemic in both communities. We need to stop just talking about this quote unquote black on black crime when anywhere you live, the offender, if you live in a predominantly black neighborhood, then the offender is usually going to be black, or a predominantly white neighborhood where the offender is going to be white or whoever, Hispanic or whatever else. And let's talk about it. You know, that crowd that say, well, you see, we telling you that blacks commit a lot of crimes against whites. You look at the numbers. Yeah, on there it's true. And I'm going to tell you exactly how that happened. Because I seen it in the hood. A lot of times you have white people that go to those bad areas that where the thugs are hanging out at. And a lot of times the thugs will either rob them or kill them sometime. And I've seen it personally happen a long time ago. A white guy was trying to buy some drugs and they robbed him of his car and everything and they shot him. You know, I mean, I seen that from a distance and I'm like, oh, shoot, you know, right when it was some chaos going on that day. Everybody was just really acting like some savages, just shooting, acting a fool or whatever. And that guy was looking for drugs at the wrong time. So I can definitely tell you that because you're not going to have a bunch of white people or any group of people coming in the black area, let's say an affluent area, middle class area where a lot of blacks are staying, like say certain areas in Atlanta or like the neighborhood we showed in DeSoto, Texas. You're not going to have nobody doing them anything because they're middle class to upper class blacks. They don't even commit crimes like that. So that's a lot of times you're going to see that at. And some people may say, well, you see, but white people don't commit crimes on black people like that. And this, look at the numbers. I'm saying, hey, I don't debate the numbers like that. But you know what? Crime is crime. It happens. You know, it may happen one more than the other. And I'm pretty sure it's not your middle class whites going into certain neighborhoods or upper class whites looking for drugs and things happening to them. I just don't see it as happening like that. I think it's all that crime is poor people doing it against other poor people. If we scroll down, we look at who's most of the crime happening to, most of the males. Okay. And look at the female rate. So let's see here. We'll look at the crime, most of the crime. Well, you know, it's crazy. I'm kind of shocked. A lot of the crime that happened to white females and white males almost literally close to being the same, but there's a difference between black men and black women. That is very interesting. We go down to Hispanics, and if they're the victim, white offender 578, black 119. Okay, and then ethnicity offender 519 over here with other people here. It says with the ethnicity Hispanic. So let me look at something here for a minute. White. Black is the offender here. Okay. Huh. Well, that's crazy. So basically, according to this, they have more crimes against Hispanics by whites than they do about black people being a victim against a white person. See, I didn't even know that. That's interesting. So I'm showing you all this for this reason. It's just to talk. We'll put the links to this to these in the description box. Basically, at the end of the day, everybody's committing crimes, and you shouldn't say one group commits more crime than the other, because if we start going on that, we'll look at the numbers and we could really spin that. Of a person's victimized by a crime, they don't care about crime statistics. They don't care about one group doing more than the other. They're looking at it as, I was victimized by a criminal, period. That's the way they're looking at that. And using that, well, at least I don't do this more than you. Well, we can definitely go back and forth on that all day long, based on the numbers that we looked at according to the FBI. Not me making it up. I didn't write this table. This is what your federal government puts out every single year to talk about the crime and arrests and things in the United States. So make sure you tell Fox News Channel, tell the truth, report it all. Don't just say black people have this and the white community don't have that, and the Hispanic community. Like, everybody commits crimes. That's the point of what I'm trying to say. And if we're going to go there about stereotyping, if we're going to go there about blaming who has more of what, we already know how we can do that. And most of the people who's trying to stereotype and smear black people like that, from my experience, you can't take it when we do it back to you, and actually present facts to show that how we could justify our stereotype like you try to justify your stereotype. So we shouldn't be stereotyping nobody, but don't play that game if you can't take it. It's the old school saying, don't dish it if you cannot take it. Make sure you guys look at this, get versed in this, learn this. That way, when they come up, these racists or whoever come up to you talking about, well, look at black people, this is what they do, and say, well, look at you, look what you do. I mean, and that way it'll shut them down, because most of them don't even know about these statistics at all. They just take whatever they heard off a Fox News channel 9 times out of 10, because they like to be told what to think, instead of doing the research for themselves and knowing the knowledge and knowing where to go look at. And probably they would shut their mouths if they knew some of the numbers. Say, wait a minute, yeah, you're right. Maybe they do have a higher robbery and murder rate, but I need to be quiet because my raping is off the charts, my drug use is high, my drunkenness is high. I mean, everything else is just, So we probably need to just both be quiet a little bit and try to fix the issues within our respective communities, instead of trying to say who's worse than the other. I'm just saying, but I get it. When it comes to racism, their whole thought process is my existence is only validated by an inferior position or superior position to black people. I mean, but that's just a life. Unfortunately, that sucks for them. Because I wouldn't want to validate my life off of somebody else's condition. I mean, shoot, I got my own stuff to be worrying about than worry about anybody else. But anyway, guys, make sure you check the description box. Become a Patreon on our new Patreon in the description box. It will help us every month to put up more and exciting content, to do more things in the community. But it costs funds to do that. We are independent media, which is a grassroots movement. Anything grassroots needs to be supported by the people, because we don't have corporate agendas and corporate money to do this. So check out the Patreon. If you're generous, please help us out. We greatly appreciate that. Hit me up in the comments, future commentaries, subscribe.